the goal is you're not buying yourself a babysitting job, okay? If you bring somebody on and you're going to pay them for 40 hours a week, what you want them to do is do the job that you would do, so you don't have to do it, and then you can take that 40 hours and you can go and do something else, okay? If you've got to be working as a riding shotgun with that individual indefinitely, that's a problem. That's not getting the job done. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. My name's Max. I'm your host. I'm the CEO here at Smith & Sons, and I'm the ambitious founder of EliteBusinessAdvisory.com, business coaching for contractors. Good to have you along for the ride. If you're a first-time listener, I appreciate you dropping in and checking us out. If you're a long-time listener, I appreciate you hanging in there and continuing to give us the support and the feedback. I appreciate your comments, and I love to get those because it really does give me some context around what's happening in the marketplace. You know, there's a lot of changes in the industry. The market has softened a little bit for sure. I think most people would agree. Getting deals over the line, making good margins, hiring good people, remaining profitable, all of that is, a challenge worldwide. And so, we're here to make a bit of a difference. Bit of housekeeping, one of these drops every week. Like and subscribe, and also get across to Business for Builders VIP. That's a place where there's a bunch of camaraderie. It's a community of, builders, general contractors, subcontractors, and even apprentices. And it's a good little melting pot where we can just have some basic conversation about what's going on. And if you've got questions, put them there, because I know you could email me at max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. But, sometimes there's probably similarities between what you guys and gals are chasing down. And, it's a good little spot there to push a question out and just ask for some help. Righto. Today, real quick episode. I've said that before. Something that, and it's so good, dealing with a lot of different general contractors, and both inside the Smith & Sons world and outside, there's always conversations that I'm having regularly, meetings with clients, listening to what's going on in their lives, and where they're winning and losing, and, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all that sort of stuff. And, something I was considering before going into a few meetings this morning was, the power of, what we want is we want to have team that is basically as good as you and I. And we've all said it, if I could just clone myself 10 times, I'd have a wicked business. Unfortunately, we can't do that. And so today I'm going to talk about how, we go about building autonomy. We really got to understand that having team around us, there's a good team member really enjoys a high level of autonomy. And if you don't know what the word autonomy means, it means that they are free to kind of do what they need to do the way they want to do it. And as long as they are getting the job done, they can enjoy that. And I think builders have a high level of autonomy. Unfortunately, what happens is they tend to sort of have autonomy and they run off in the wrong direction. So if you're a general contractor and a builder, or even a subcontractor with a crew, I want to chat with you real quickly about how do we end up creating the byproduct of autonomy? And really it comes down to a couple of things. Firstly, it comes down to systems, recruitment, and then reporting and accountability. If we can put systems together and we have good recruitment technique, and there is reporting or there's accountability, those three components will automatically produce a byproduct of successful autonomy or reliable autonomy. So really what we're talking about, I guess, is if we're trying to systemize, there's no point in recruiting somebody on and getting them into your team if there is no systems, okay? Because if you've got to, every time they move, you've got to tell them, that takes away from their autonomy because they've got to turn to you for direction, okay? So if you're having to micromanage, you're so far away from autonomy, it's not funny. So I guess what we're talking about, the role of systems, is we want to really define and document processes, okay? So we're going back to a bit of a 101 for consistency and efficiency. That's why we do that. Now, If it needs to be done more than twice, we need an SOP, we need a documented or a defined way, the way that we can train the system to a newcomer, or how we onboard our team. Okay, the SOPs, they empower teams to make independent decisions. So you can see how when you've got that documented and defined system, it enables your team or empowers your team to be able to operate independently and obviously consistently and efficiently. And then obviously the challenge for us as business owners is to regularly update the SOPs to keep them relevant and useful. So sometimes you might get feedback from one of your team members that says this system that you've got has got a few little kinks in it, or it's now completely redundant, maybe because of technology, and we need to revisit that. So that's the role of a system. So when we're talking about systems, recruitment, and then accountability, we need to define those systems, because if we go into recruitment and we step over systems, and I'm not saying don't recruit, before you've got systems, but in a perfect world, I think I said this to a client today, we grow up in the era where there is no such thing, and there's certainly no talk about, documenting and defining systems. And so we just go out there and start working away, and then turn around and we wonder why people that we recruit have to be told over and over again what to do, because we don't have a training system built in to how we go about systemizing and recruiting. So recruiting techniques, so we want to hire both for skills and for cultural fit. Some people say to hire on attitude and then teach people the skills. I think that's okay for a certain amount of time, but if you're really not going to step up and get the job done, just being a nice guy is not going to cut it. So what we're looking for in more definition around that is sort of self-starters and problem solvers, right? And so again, remember, we're trying to go back, and here's the when we get into the recruitment side of things, here's where we go back to that I wish I could clone myself business. Right? So what I would say is, on the wall behind the camera up here is, our core values, and the things that are important to me. So open, honest communication. That to me is super important in business, both for good and bad. Okay. It's nice to communicate with business partners that everything's going well, but it's also important that I communicate when things aren't going so well. And so, because a lot of the time, if I'm emotionally wrapped up in a situation and I convey that to my business partners rather than concealing that, that business partner might be able to give me some insight into how to handle it, and much better. And I do that a lot with my coaching clients as well. And so really what we're trying to do is, there's a whole range of personalities in the world, and it's like trying to put a rock and roll band together. You've got to get the chemistry working. And so essentially what we're saying is, when you're recruiting, it's the chemistry that we've got to work on and we've got to look for. So, I don't want you to just be a charity organization that says, well, he's a nice guy, so we won't fire him, or we won't give him notice, or we won't try and, give him a couple of warnings. Guys and gals, you're not a charity. Your cash at bank is, can tend to be finite. You might only have one swing at it for this quarter, and so you've really got to deploy that finances in a very prudent manner. Okay, so self-starters and problem solvers, because if I was looking at you and asking you, are you a self-starter and a problem solver, you'd go, yes, I am, Max, very much so. And so, when we're looking to recruit, that might be a question. Hey, Mr. Job applicant, what I'm looking for is problem solvers and self-starters. Okay, I'm systemizing the business in such a way that I need you to learn, and I need you to be able to execute efficiently. So we'll have this learn, do, teach thing. It's like, I'll show you what I do, you can learn it. Then I need you to do it while I watch and supervise. And then at some point you may work yourself into a management role where you will then do the same. So, that kind of chit chat in the interview process is important. And obviously psychometric profiling will help you or assist you in aligning candidates with company values. And I think that's where we talk about simulating stress. And, there's no wrong or right answers. Again, remember, the object or the name of the game is to find people that mesh gears with me. Now, I don't know whether you can tell or not, but I'm a rather intense personality. I have a retired Navy SEAL who's a mentor of mine, and his nickname for me is Through the Front Door Freight Train Max, because I want to kick doors down and get shit done. Now, some people can't handle that level of intensity and they go away, and that's just the way it is. There's those people that go away from me that might work with you. I know that a lot of my coaching clients, they are very similar personalities. They have a very much a no bullshit attitude. It's like, step aside. I got to get the job done at any cost. And so, that can be a little bit intense for some people, and, that's just the way it is. And that's why when we're putting our rock and roll band together or our team together in our general contracting company, it's important that we are aware of those different kinds of personalities and how they blend with your personality. And when I play in a real rock and roll band, and when I think about those guys, and I've been in bands where there's been breakups, and I think about these guys, and we do have a fun time when we get together. We don't take it too serious. It is a hobby. We're not doing it for the money, that is for sure. And we just communicate well, and we're all fairly durable performers. And so that's kind of how you begin to start thinking about, if you're early on in early days and you've not done a lot of recruiting, you've got to be careful, because you may be a weak recruiter. You may be a weak leader. And I'm not sitting here and judging you. I'm just saying, please be aware that somebody that comes into your business that's an alpha personality like me, when you're maybe a different personality, even though they've got good skills, they're probably not going to wait for you. They're either going to go around you, or they're just going to go and do their own thing. So there's no wrong or right. There's plenty of people to go around. As you'd say, there's plenty of fish in the sea. But what you just need to be aware of, you're looking for your dream team, okay? That's all I'm saying, right? You can't be everything to everybody. I know that. So I've just got to keep on putting one foot in front of the other and be consistent, and to ensure that, I don't lose momentum and I don't quit. So we want to also, when in the recruitment process, you want to onboard effectively, and you want to set clear expectations for autonomy. So the goal is, when you are recruiting, the goal is you're not buying yourself a babysitting job, okay? If you bring somebody on and you're going to pay them for 40 hours a week, what you want them to do is do the job that you would do, so you don't have to do it, and then you can take that 40 hours and you can go and do something else, okay? If you've got to be working as a riding shotgun with that individual indefinitely, that's a problem. That's not getting the job done. What you need to do is become, and I talk to enough clients to know that, if they can get the recruitment thing right, systemizing is easy. We've just got to sit there and think about anything that needs to be done more than twice. We've got to have an SOP for that. We've got to have some sort of one-page dot point document that we can put into a folio, or some sort of binder whereby we can refer back to and understand that everything that we do in the business is teachable, okay? And so we want to be able to onboard, have the training mechanisms. And so this is why, people say to me, well, shit, Max, this is all very new to me. I don't really do that. And yet in the same breath, you'll tell me that you want to run a $2 million company. And I need you to reconcile the two, because to build a $2 million company, if you're a great carpenter and a fantastic framer, great. But you're not going to be able to get the business that you want by doing that. Few and far between reach that kind of revenue by being a subcontractor. Some do, but not many, okay? And so if you're going to run an orthodox retail company, and you're going to be dealing with the homeowner and you're going to be dealing with retail, you're going to have to put a little bit of a team around you. Not a lot. We don't need 50 people working for us. That's not what I'm talking about. But there is a mechanism whereby every time we hit a certain level, we can then go, right, now I'm going to get a project manager, or right, now I'm going to get a site super, or right, now I'm going to get an office manager. And so, there's all these little triggers that we're not aware of. And so if you've been brought up in the carpentry building world like I was, nobody ever talked to us in this regard. Nobody ever said anything to us about SOPs, recruitment techniques, and things like that. Okay, so the third part to this is we systemize. We have documented systems that define the process. We have good recruitment techniques. We have good training and onboarding. Now, the thing is, with building those systems and then giving them to team, how do we know that those well-recruited and onboarded team members are utilizing the systems the way that we envisage? Well, that's where the reporting and accountability comes into it. Because if we don't have this, what you've got is you've got good humans with systems, But you, the business owner, you actually have no measurables against the performance of those individuals, right? So reporting and accountability standards. We want to set up regular reporting systems to track progress and performance. So everybody's different. Every business is different. You got to have a think about that. So think about how you're going to go and put those reporting systems in place. And this is where you need to go more into your making role as opposed to your managing role, and really think about, if I was to have a good documented system and if I was to have a good human, how can I measure the performance? So what you don't measure, you can't manage. What you don't measure, you can't improve. And so what are the steps, And so, particularly if you've got a salesperson or a project consultant, if you've got a supervisor or a site superintendent, different KPIs or key performance indicators. So what are the things that indicate performance? Those things that are key that will tell you a story. So when I talk about my activity key metrics, I'm measuring a lot of things because it gives me an update on the activity of the business day by day, week by week, month by month, and it really helps me get clarity because I can sit back and look at the landscape of numbers for that month and just start to figure out, right, based on the fact that we're only a quarter of the way through the year, I haven't even got close to 1/4 of the required leads that I need to make the sales side of things work. And so immediately we've got a bit of an issue. And what's our marketing message, etc. And so we've got to make sure that we're focused on the key metrics, okay, that are going to tell us a story about their performance, right? Accountability encourages independent problem solving and ownership. And so, if you're going to rush in there and go, get out of the way, I'll do it myself, that I understand why you do that. I've done that myself. But you need to probably at some point just let it go for a minute and watch what happens, because that's going to indicate to you whether or not this individual is somebody that you can trust to operate by themselves or autonomously, okay? So what we want, we go back to the start, and we wanted those folks that were self-starters and problem solvers. And so when we get down to reporting and accountability, encouraging independent problem solving also creates a level of ownership. And so not that we want our team, we don't expect our team to work harder than us. It's not their business. But we do need some level of personal leadership from our team members, which really reflects their attitude towards the business is very much like an owner. So we're not talking about outworking the boss, but we're just talking about having a very responsible, mature attitude towards the business and the business activity. Right, so integrating those things like systems, recruitment, and accountability or reporting, we need to, have these three elements work together, and that creates a really structured, reliable outcome, and that really then confirms the autonomy that's built into those systems. I think it's important that as I or you begin to understand the different departments within our business, so we have project consultancy or sales, we have finance administration, we have administration, we have project management. Like, what we're trying to do is develop those departments within your business to a point where you can then just receive reports from 2 or 3 or 4 of those department leaders, and that starts to give you a very good understanding of how the business performance is happening. I think what we're talking about is very similar. For me as a business coach, it's like, hey, give me the weekend review, the good, the bad, the ugly. And that starts to, we get into some fairly hardy conversation because my clients begin to start telling me, well, I did this well and that's great, but this is where I have a hard time. And I struggle with, putting out social media consistently, or I don't have a really established, well-documented sales process. Or they'll tell me a story where the client, maybe did something in that pre-construction phase and it didn't work out. And we'll go drilling into that. And so we're really, focused on having a well-structured, reliable system that produces autonomy and good behavior. So what we want is we want the right people on our bus, sitting in the right seats, behaving the right way. You might have heard me say that before. So common pitfalls, I think, as it relates to systemizing recruitment and accountability, it's just inconsistent inconsistent systems, and poor hiring choices. And, I'm as guilty as the next. I kid you not. There's sometimes where you just go, I don't know how I didn't see that, or I don't know how I got that wrong, but I clearly did. And so, I think a lot of it is about not what you're going through, but it's what you're going to. And so when you're struggling with, building a team that acts independently, that is reliable, and obviously has a high level of autonomy that produces the results at the level that you want, if you're not got that, then there's going to be a hang up in one or more of those sectors. It's either going to be your lack of systems, it's going to be an undefined process of recruitment, and you're not going to have any reporting or accountability mechanisms in place. So we've got to really be committed, I would say, to systems and recruitment and reporting to ensure that our business has got the right foundation and you've got the right understanding to be able to sort of start to build let's call it a corporate team of your own. And if we're going to run subcontractor heavy, we're trying to build that corporate team because I don't want you getting tied to your business. Okay. We want a balance of time and money. So you want the time to spend the money and the money to spend the time. You want that equals choices when you've got a balance. Now, if you're making a shit ton of money, but you're tied to your business, then we've got to think about how we're going to go and rehash the business. Does our pricing model need adjustment? Does our marketing message need a tune-up? Does our delivery methods, are they letting us down because we don't have good recruitment? So we're out there swinging a hammer and got the bag on and doing too much work on our own. And so, these are the kinds of things that we need to consider as business owners. So I guess all I want to do is encourage you to consider each of those stages to breed some autonomous gangsters like yourself, okay? And really, understand that implementation isn't something that's is going to happen overnight. It's going to take some education. Now that you've got a bit of awareness, remember, my job as a business coach is to bring about awareness and then provide some education and then obviously accountability. That's what I do. See, that's my measuring stick. So I know that there's a lot of things, no matter who I sit down with, whether they've got a small business or a large business, there's aspects within the business that are in the shadows or in the shade or in the gray. And I've got to bring those out to the light of day so that there's like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that. There's an awareness program. It's like, all right, so now what do we do to bring about some change? Okay, and then of course, normally change happens. You make a decision to change course, but then there's choices that you make every day around how you're going to complete that, that change of trajectory. So thanks for hanging around, like and subscribe, all that sort of good stuff. And don't forget, get across to B4B VIP, get into that community. If you want to chat with me about coaching, go to elitebusinessadvisory.com and hit the blue button and have a chat with me about what's involved as far as coaching for contractors. Other than that, go build a kick-ass business. See you in the next episode. Cheers.